Formula One is a fantastic film with a great score, great visuals and a great cast. But what's underlooked is that the film carries very relevant and resonating themes for today's world. In this video I'm gonna analyze those themes, how they play out in the story, and tell you why they're relevant for our own lives. Let's get right into it. The most present themes in the movie are redemption, ego and flow. How? Well, let's first start with redemption. Sonny Hayes starts the movie with quite of a bad reputation. He was in the running to become one of the greatest, then had an accident, couldn't continue racing, and eventually led down to a self-destructive path of gambling addiction, 2 divorces, and no races. The movie instantly kickstarts his idea when Ruben approaches him and says, "Some see Sonny Hayes as a guy with a gambling addiction, I see someone who has potential for the team." This then gets followed by the next segment when Sonny gets asked by the nosy press if he would have done things differently, which Sonny responds to, "Yeah," and we see a training montage of him trying to redeem himself. I believe that question asked by the press is probably an allegory for Brad Pitt's life, but let's not talk about that. In short, and this is a quote from the movie, they are saying that Sonny Hayes was never a has-been, but never was. And I believe he's somewhat scared to try it again, because in the first race, he's asking himself what he's doing there. He's probably scared of that vulnerability of failing again. People like Ruben believe in him, but he doesn't believe in himself just yet. What I find interesting about the movie though is that even though Sonny has a bad reputation, he doesn't really care about his reputation. You see this in the fact that he's okay with ruining his own car, making mistakes, and the media probably thinking he still has nothing going from him. All if it just means that JP and the team in general can win. This is where another prominent theme of the movie comes in, which is ego. Because while Sonny is fully depleted of ego, I'll tell you why later in the video, JP is full of it. In contrast to Sonny, JP cares a lot more about the media, the press, building a name for himself. For example, in the amazing montage of Sonny getting better and the team making improvements while JP is injured, you can see it kinda hurts him to see the team succeeding without him. Seeing Sonny thrive makes him train harder and harder, which is probably the reason that the first race he comes back, he lets him crash. But Sonny and JP are not the only characters where ego plays a role. There's also a more innocent way where ego plays a role, which is through Kate.
Kate is the head of tech, and the reason she wants to succeed is to prove to all the men who wronged her that she can be successful in her field.
And this is of course a very present thing in today's world. I've said this in previous videos and I won't go too deep into it again because it's a bit of boomer talk, but ego can play a huge role into our passions and almost everything that we do. We can be passionate about stuff like our hobbies, our major, our work, but at the same time, if we are not careful, the idea of praise, compliments, the labels we get, the social accolades can very much take over of why we're doing it. Hell, even with making videos, the likes and views will always be something I need to be cautious of to not let it redirect my focus. Speaking of likes though, if you're enjoying this video, please drop a like, not because of my ego, but because other people would then also get helped by it. So what antidote does the movie give to this? Well, when Sonny and Kate have a conversation on why they do what they do, Sonny explains that he was never in for it for the accolades. Even if he raced with all his biggest superstars, all he really cared about was the passion for driving, the love for the craft, the feeling like nothing else matters when you're doing it, the feeling of flying. Psychologists call this the flow state. It's a feeling that when you're so deep into an activity that everything else fades away. What is super interesting regarding the context of the movie is that in the flow state, the prefrontal cortex of the brain reduces activity. And what is the prefrontal cortex of the brain responsible for, or at least partly responsible for? Self-consciousness.
So the ego exists way less when you're in flow. There's no need, I need to be better, I need to win and be prestigious. For Sonny, it's just a drive. So it's quite fictitious how this movie is aligned with science. The movie very much finalizes this idea in the amazing ending race, because everything comes together here so nicely. Because before this segment, JP realizes that he caused his own injury as his ego was hungry for the win.
This makes him realize the dangers of ego, so he then embraces what Sonny said, how the media is just noise. So then he cancels all the meetings, the final race comes, he tries to let Sonny win. Sonny wins by being in the flow state and by flying. The team wins, it's a very nice moment, everyone is celebrating, and I like this movie a lot. Mentally, there are so many things that we can learn from. First, the idea of redemption. It inspired me so much how Sonny made mistakes, had a self-destructive path, yet he's the one to make a whole team happy. The way everyone celebrates him is just so touching. One crucial line in the final race that really fits with this is when they get a new set of tires just because they sucked in the qualification route. Ruben quotes Sonny saying, "Sometimes when you lose, you win." And that is just so encapsulating for this whole team. This whole movie just shows that a whole month, a year, even a decade doesn't have to define what you can do right now. You can still improve, do good, be worthy. You're always worthy. And with that line I just mentioned, there are also so many unintended good things that can happen from that slump. The second thing from the movie we can take is to devalue the ego part of life and to realize how much the passion of things weigh a lot more. Try to realize what moments get you into flow and compare that feeling to the feeling of likes, compliments, the idea of being something, your reputation. For me personally, you might think that I'm making a video right now and this process is the crux of it, but for me the heart of creating videos already happened before.
It was a bike road I had after I watched this movie for the second time and I wanted to make a video about it. I felt inspired by the themes of the movie, I felt inspired on how much clicking there is between the themes and real life, but also how much it clicks to my own life. To me, that is when I get the flow state.
I also just really hate the recording process because of so many things going wrong, so this is definitely not the flow state. But anyway, as I said, movies are the things that give me flow. That's why I like to dissect them like this, as that really enhances the feeling of inspiration. If you like to feel inspired by movies as well, consider subscribing, as I regularly make videos like this so that you can feel inspired. Anyway, thank you so much for watching and I will see you soon.